Hey, y'all, I'm Melissa Guerra. I am the Kitchen Wrangler, and welcome back to my podcast. This is episode number 8, and I just want to say thank you to my 26 followers. I don't have that many, but I'm so glad that y'all have stuck with me. I'm learning a lot. I hope you're learning a lot. I'm learning more about podcasting, and I hope you're learning a little bit about food history from me because it's my jam. I really love it. And the subject for today is, why was Moctezuma, why was he a chocoholic? Because he really was a chocoholic. Was he sitting around eating Godivas all day and, eating candy? We're going to look at that because, chocolate is from the Americas, and he was the last Aztec king that we know of before he was defeated by the Spanish conquistador, Hernan Cortés. And so you would think, well, maybe he, since he was the Aztec king, maybe they had completely dominated the process of chocolate, and he was eating chocolate candy all the time because he was a king. If I was a king or if I was a queen, that would be what I would do. But anyway, let's get started on this subject matter, which I love. Wait till you see the artwork, and I'm going to try to be better with the way that I switch these slides because I don't think I'm very good. Look at that. That is Moctezuma. Look at him in all his glory. And again, I'm here with my little piece of paper because I'm smart, but I'm not that smart. So he was the king of the Aztecs, and he was introduced to Hernan Cortés when Hernan Cortés landed in his area in Mexico. It was actually in Tlaxcala where Hernan Cortés landed and met Moctezuma. And at first things went pretty well, and Moctezuma offered Hernan Cortés some chocolate. And from what I understand, the conquistadores did not really like it that much. The word chocolatl, which is Nahuatl is the original language of Mexico. Like, we think Spanish is the language of Mexico, but hello, Spanish is the language of the Spaniards, of the Spanish. And so they brought the language with them, but the language of the indigenous in Nahuatl, and you always know Nahuatl because it always ends with an L, so the word was chocolatl, and what that means is bitter water. And so the conquistadores, that other than Cortés, that were drinking this chocolate, they're like, this stuff is gross. One guy said they didn't like it. He said it was spicy and bitter, and it would better be tossed out to the pigs than drunk by men. So that's kind of confusing because you're thinking, wow, chocolate is probably the most delicious thing that I've ever experienced. Well, at least I have. I mean, I think chocolate is amazing. And there's Cortés. Moctezuma looks a lot more fun. This guy looks kind of uptight, but they did not like chocolate at all. But the Aztecs loved it, and they would drink it with lots and lots of chile. Occasionally, they would mix it with fruit or corn, or sometimes they would mash it together with psilocybin mushrooms, the magic mushrooms that give you hallucinations. So if you think of how stimulating chocolate is, and you think of how weird a mushroom experience must be, I mean, the Aztecs, it was good to be an Aztec. I mean, they were having a good time. But the one thing that they did not have in Mexico until the colonists got there was sugar. And so, I love this. These are some early pictures, or not pictures, because it's not a photograph, but it's a drawing of a woman making chocolate. And this is a Mayan woman, and this is from the Codex Tudela, because codexes were the way that the indigenous would record their daily life. They didn't really use written language like the way that we do. They used pictographs. And so this is a picture of a woman making chocolate, and she's pouring it from a very high level and pouring it into a cup on the ground because the foamy head on the chocolate is incredibly authentic and important. We think it's just, kind of a garnish, but no, that is the absolute most authentic way of preparing it. Oh, and here's, sorry, I had two, again, You know me and my technology. I'm doing my best. But I'm sorry, I have Miss Codex Tudela in there as well. But we also have a drawing from the Codex Borgia, and you can see that there is a guy drinking chocolate out of a bowl, which is a really cool depiction as well. But the way that we enjoy chocolate now in our current life, in current modern times, is very different than the way that the Aztecs would have enjoyed chocolate. And they did not have sugar. Sugar only existed in possibly fruits and berries, and there's two other sources. And because I live here on the Texas border, I have seen these sources, and so I'm only, like a 1 hour plane ride from Mexico City. So these same insects are in my area. They're in Moctezuma's neighborhood. So these are paper wasps, and it's called Brachygastra mellifica, and they make these big wasp hives. And actually, we found one outside the house, maybe about 2 months ago. And they do have a type of honey that they can use. So Moctezuma could have used that, or they did have honey pot ants. And if you've ever seen the Discovery Channel and these ants that store kind of a fluid in their belly, this would have been another type of sweetener that would have been available to Moctezuma. Honeybees did not exist in the Americas. They existed in Europe. It's a European honeybees. And the magic of the European honeybee is that they can make a prolific amount of honey. These little guys, the honeypot ants and the paper wasp, I mean, they make honey, but it's not a lot. It's maybe, I don't know, I'd say maybe like a quarter cup, maybe 60 milliliters per hive. It's a lot of work to get it. You get stung, it's a mess. But with European honeybees, they could produce so much more. So there wasn't a lot of sweeteners in the Americas before the conquistadores got there. This is chocolate. This is chocolate on the tree. It's Theobroma cacao. That is the scientific name for it. And this is sugarcane. So over the weekend, it occurred to me that chocolate wouldn't be chocolate without sugar. And the way that the original way that the Aztecs would have enjoyed chocolate did not appeal to Europeans at the beginning at all, because of the amount of spiciness, the chili, the bitterness. The Europeans really didn't like it. Now, Moctezuma, like I said, he was a total chocoholic. He really loved it, but the Europeans didn't like it so much. So as more conquistadores, more colonists arrived in the Americas, the one thing that they brought with them was sugarcane. And the history of sugarcane in the Americas and across the world, it absolutely changed the world. Where sugarcane is from, where the original primordial wild plant was from, is Papua New Guinea, which is closer to Asia. So I want to show you this map. Look at that. So we've got Papua New Guinea on the map, and we have Mexico on the map where Moctezuma was. Look, sugarcane had to come from the other side of the world to get to Mexico, but its first stop was in Europe. So when Europeans got to Mexico, they brought sugar and they replaced the chili with sugar, which makes sense. There are other beverages that are bitter, like tea and coffee. I love tea and coffee, but when I first started drinking them as a kid, I would add a lot of sugar because for me they were very bitter. And the same thing with chocolate. It was so bitter that when Europeans wanted to try to drink it and get those stimulating qualities like you get from tea and coffee, instead of chili, they decided to add sugar. But look at that incredible journey that sugar had to make from Papua New Guinea all the way to Mexico. And so Moctezuma never experienced chocolate the way Europeans experienced chocolate once they got the sugar involved. So yes, Moctezuma was a chocoholic, but he never enjoyed chocolate candy because candy is made with sugar. And the ones that made chocolate candy were the Europeans that took chocolate back to Europe. And it was the Swiss and the Belgians and the Dutch. Once they got a hold of chocolate, And surprisingly enough, one of the first groups that got a hold of chocolate that came back from the Americas, the guy's name was Nestle. I mean, among other people, there's quite a few other Swiss and Belgian and Dutch companies that got a hold of chocolate. But surprisingly enough, Nestle products are still available and they are still combining sugar with chocolate. And, they're doing the same thing that they did, starting 250 years ago. But why was Moctezuma, why was he a chocoholic? Well, he would have his cup of chocolate with a lot of chile before he visited the ladies. Chocolate's very stimulating. Chile is very, very stimulating. And so it was an aphrodisiac for him. But just like we give chocolate candy to people that we really love on Valentine's Day, he was not eating a bunch of chocolate. He was drinking cups and cups of 50 cups of chocolate in one day that were just chock full of chile and possibly paper wasp honey and fruit and maybe some psilocybin mushrooms in there. I mean, that would have been an incredible smoothie. I can't even imagine what that would have been like. But, he was the king, so that's what he got. So that is my little talk about chocolate. And, if you have any subject matters regarding American food history, which is my total jam. Okay, let's see. Oh, yay, I did it. If you have any questions about the food history of the Americas, just drop me a line. I really love doing this research. And every Tuesday, I am here on YouTube, nerding out about food history, researching Moctezuma and researching photos and drawings. And I love it. I love it because it tells us a lot about us here in the United States. And it tells us about our relationship with everybody else across the world and all of the foods that we have all shared. That is what really, really inspires me. And I hope it inspires you a little bit. So make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel, though I have a cooking channel and now I have my nerdy food history podcast channel. So make sure you subscribe to both. And I am working on my personal best with this technology. I have not mastered the podcast technology, but if you have patience, I've got a lot to say, and I'll always be here at the ranch, and I'm always looking forward to y'all joining me here. I'm Melissa Guerra. I'm the kitchen wrangler, and I'm looking forward to seeing you here at the ranch again soon. Bye now.